Welcome everyone to the X Factor cast. Thank you guys for viewing and tuning in. This is a really exciting episode. We got episode 4 here. We've been doing a lot of work and a lot of things behind the scenes, and we're really excited to be able to roll out some more podcast episodes a lot more frequently than we have this summer. It's been a tricky schedule, and we're just really excited to get this thing rolling a little bit more frequently. So, here on episode 4, we have an amazing guest, and who will be also co-hosting with me for much of the fall. As Dorian will also be kind of filling in and jumping on here and there when he can, as he's kind of getting ready for fall camp and everything like that with football. So, really pleased to have Antoine Burrell here with me, the founder of the Be Collective Plus. And Antoine, if you want to just talk about kind of how you got started in the NIL influencer marketing space, working with some really talented people, and obviously kind of what your path forward is, what your mission is, kind of how you're looking to impact athletes, and obviously we can talk about our relationship as well with X Factor and the Be Collective Plus. We recently partnered, so really excited about everything that we have in the works here this fall. So would love to hear just kind of how you got started and where you're looking to go here in the NIL space.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. Happy to be a part of the cast and happy to join on a more regular basis. So like you said, I'm the founder of B Collective Plus. We are an HBCU NIL collective. So I kind of to give you the backstory of how we got here. So I got a background in the sports industry. I went to an HBCU. Shout out to Hampton University. And I was a sports management major there. I got my start right after graduation with the Washington Nationals. Took my talents to DC. Haven't left the area since. But no, I've been in the industry for probably the last 8 or 9 years now. Started out in ticket sales, went from ticket sales over to sponsorships, and in sponsorship was doing a lot of the partnership marketing, the sponsorship activation. I was really like the middleman in between, the organizations that I worked for and their corporate sponsors. And like within those organizations, they included Georgetown University Athletics, Maryland University Athletics, as well as the Baltimore Orioles. So I got a lot of great experience, throughout my professional career leading up to this point, working with sponsors in the athletic space, both collegiate and professional. And so yeah, so really, after the birth of NIL, I really was really interested in what was gonna happen, how it was gonna take shape. For me, having done sponsorship activation in the college space, it was like, wow, like okay, now like that was the biggest difference between like what I had been doing. Like it was literally illegal to do the work that I was doing for a player. It had to be all or nothing, whole team or nothing. So no, it was really cool to kind of see how this landscape was developing. And to be quite frankly honest, I saw what other places, whether or other orgs, collectives, and things like that were doing. And as someone that's been in the industry, as someone that has talked to sponsors, I've done the activation, I've ran around the ballparks, I've been in the stadiums, I've taken the sponsors from the suites to the court, given them tickets, hooked them up with all different kinds of things. Like I speak their language. I know what they're looking for when they sign these kind of deals and what kind of partnerships, because my job was to make sure they got their money's worth. And so like kind of just seeing NIL and giving this opportunity to student athletes, I felt like it was kind of a little bit of a no-brainer for me to kind of really utilize my skill set, utilize my strengths that I have that are a little niche. Like you see some of these collectives at different places where it's a lot of donor funded. Some of them are like student athlete ran. Some of them are just businessmen who love their teams. Some of them are all types of different like positions of people that are starting their collective and all in support of student athletes, right? So I decided to throw my name in the hat as well as someone, like I've been in the game, like I've been in the industry. I've seen this from a different lens, actually. Like, I've seen it from directly the sponsors that activate in sports marketing in the college space, in the professional space, from the brands that attach their brands to sports. So, taking that knowledge and that skill set was what led me to really create Be Collective. And we wanted to take a different approach. We didn't want to be school specific, just because like we wanted to help all student athletes, but very intentionally, as a graduate of an HBCU, my family went to HBCUs. I wanted to make sure HBCU students didn't get left behind. Historically, we've kind of seen, a little bit slower on the HBCU side to kind of catch up to some trends or different things like that. Like I wanted to not only make sure that we didn't get left behind, but I also wanted to strike while the iron's hot. Like I think what Coach Deion Sanders did while he was at Jackson State was remarkable and incredible. And I think that like just because he isn't there doesn't mean that the light has to dim or the light has to go off on HBCUs and HBCU athletics. There's kids in the league right now playing preseason games that got picked up because of the light that was shed on HBCU and showing the world that kind of talent that exists out there. And I think the same can go for NIL, right? Like, because NIL, when you think about it, is bigger than your position on the depth chart. It's bigger than the stats that you're putting on the board. It's about who you are as a person, who you are as a brand, and like building that in addition to your playing days. Like, I mean, if you look at it, if you play the tape forward, if you make it to the league, like a lot of players, like the ones that are very successful, it's more than just their contract salary. It's endorsement deals. It's opportunities like that. But you can't get those kind of opportunities if you're not a brand, if you won't position yourself to be a marketable person. And now NIL has now opened that door to give you the training, to give you the opportunity to grow in that space so that if you are fortunate enough to make it to the next level, to make it to the highest level, you can also continue to capitalize, continue to grow, and really do big things. And so, like, for us, it was just making sure that our HBCU kids didn't get left behind, and somebody that knew the game, like someone that was knowledgeable, not someone that had been starting in one space and said, "Oh yeah, let's not forget about them." But someone that was coming straight from like, no, I'm making this for us. We're setting a different trend. We're going to do this a different way. We don't have to follow what is already out there in the market because I have a different background. Like I have a different skill set that I'm bringing to the table that I know that already makes me unique in itself from starting a collective, but also that I know can be proven successful as far as really supporting our student athletes like that. So yeah, that's kind of the why, the how we got here for Be Collective, and I think with that model, with that trend is kind of how you and I got connected. Because we work with students across the country that go to HBCUs in different schools. We actually reached out to one of your athletes, Cardell, when we saw that he was transferring to Florida A&M, and we thought, they'd be a great kid for us to work with. And he is a great guy, man. He told us like, I've already got my representation, but we can collaborate. And I was like, hey, you got your head on straight. Let's talk. And so the fact that he was able to connect us with you and we could jump on some calls, the three of us, and now that use those opportunities to forge a relationship between you and I and realize all the synergies, with the HBCU guys you guys got on your roster, the ones we've got on our roster, the resources that we both kind of bring to the table. I think it was a great start for an amazing collaboration.
Yeah, I think we just have a lot of overlapping similarities, themes in our business. Like the main reason I started X Factor was to just allow these athletes to grow a brand and prop themselves up, but to take advantage of the time they're in that limelight in college, but to also create opportunities for when they're finished playing or maybe when they're in the pros where you do have a lot more opportunity that's just outside of football or outside of basketball. Like you have a lot of endorsement or investment opportunities and business opportunities. So I think NIL is doing a lot of great things from a skill set standpoint. Like I think so many athletes are being thrown into the fire, so to speak, with branding, with business, with communications, networking, and I think it's allowing them to really see that there's so much more opportunity out there. And I think it's amazing that I've experienced it a little bit. I'm sure you have too, in the time working in NIL. But people like Cardell, athletes, clients that you work with, they become friends. You have a very friendly relationship with them. They're sharing their network like Cardell did, and thankfully we've connected through Cardell and through HBCU athletes. But I think we're able to now impact so many student athletes, like whether it's HBCU, whether it's a Power Five, whether it's being able to do a group deal to some degree. I think there's so much opportunity to celebrate our differences. And I think, you guys are going to see another announcement here today about our partnership. But I think just so many similarities are, here with B Collective and with X Factor. But there's also some differences that we're able to leverage and celebrate and build off of. And I think that's what I'm excited about. We have a lot of the same vision. Um, and like I said, it's just really cool when an athlete of yours or a client of yours thinks of you highly enough that he would allow you to connect with other people that could prop your business up or prop your opportunities or other X Factor or other HBCU athletes up. And that's what I love about people like Cardell. Cardell's a great guy. He's a great representative of both of our agencies and collectives. And, it's amazing to have those kinds of people on your side. And I just think we have a lot of those between, both of our rosters. Thankfully, I was saying it to an athlete the other day that we work with. It's just been really nice to see. It's very difficult when you connect with a college athlete for the first time, or they reach out to you, or maybe you're reaching out to them, and you really want to get to know like who they are on the call, but you only have maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes to talk to them, and it is very difficult to understand their goals in NIL or who they really are or what kind of person they are. And thankfully, we've run into a lot of great athletes and people, and it's refreshing to see that in this day and age and in sports. It's awesome that so many athletes are willing to prop each other up, and it's not just all about them. And they do see a lot of the opportunity that's being presented with NIL. So I'm really excited to continue our relationship, our whole business dynamic that we have going here. And I think there's going to be a lot of great opportunities moving forward for not only X Factor athletes, but for B Collective and HBCU athletes too. So having a few HBCU athletes ourselves, you guys obviously having multiple as well. I think there's a lot of opportunity for content overlap or content series or brand deals where we can collaborate both of our agencies and both of our athlete rosters. And that's something I'm really excited about heading into specifically the fall and into football season, where I think a lot of local brands specifically will probably get involved or interested in football or basketball athletes or so we're just really excited about kind of where this is going to go with our partnership. I think it also, this opportunity with the podcast with you co-hosting as well, I think it's going to give us a lot of opportunity just to update the public and update our followers and clients and athletes on what we're working on, how we can help them further. And I think as time goes on, we're going to be able to impact a lot more athletes and even to a higher degree than we are right now. So I'm just very pleased to have you not only on board with the podcast, but also as a partner of X Factor. I think the sky's the limit. Our athletes are all very supportive of it. And I think, we can kind of continue to build like a family environment with our partnership, because I think like we've been touching on, there's a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities. And I think, that can be leveraged and kind of put into our advantage. So I'm really excited, man. I think between the content we can create, the ideas we have, I know you're also very prominent in kind of the NIL education side, so would love to hear some of your experiences on that end too. But I think that's also an opportunity for all of us to further educate athletes, but also kind of position ourselves as mentors in the space. So would love to hear more about kind of how you got involved in that side of NIL as well, and where you're looking to go, in the next year or so.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, just like you said, just kind of being in the space, like you learn a lot about the athletes you talk to, the athletes that you work with. And I mean, one thing is really like there's just a lack of knowledge, and like it's at no fault of anybody's. Like NIL is 3 years old. Like I mean, compared to a human, like what does a 3 year old know? Like I mean, like it's just there's only so much that you can do or you can know. There's only everybody can only be but so much of an expert because like very transparently, if you're an expert of greater than 3 to 5 years, that's probably a problem because that means you may have been doing some stuff that you shouldn't have. And so, like, I think when just kind of like understanding now what this new opportunity looks like, I mean, it's very reminiscent to something that literally we all over the whole world had to hear for the last 2 years, a new normal. And like that's what NIL is in the college space. Like it is a new normal. So like there is no past to go off of. There is no history to go off of to know what to expect. It's very hard to forecast what's next, to predict what's next, because this is uncharted territory. And I think with that is, I think there has to be some form of understanding that like people don't know. Like even like we as experts, like there's still so much for us to learn and to unearth and to uncover. And I think that like that was one thing that I found that there was a gaping hole in this whole ecosystem is that like there's a lot of platforms, there's a lot of articles, there's a lot of different like I can Google this information, right? But there's something about learning from someone that is experiencing it. It's something about learning from experience and something about like being in the trenches of this where you have a context that you can explain to people, that you can help them understand what's like different from the articles that you see, like help them uncover like okay, like yes, this article may say that this kid is worth, $3 million or something, but what does that mean? Like, who said that they were worth that much? Like, are they getting a deal that was $3 million? Someone just said, like, I paid $3 million for them to rep my brand. Like, where does that information come from? And so, like, if you're a student athlete, like, realizing, like, sometimes that doesn't mean anything for you. Just very transparently, like that doesn't affect your opportunity. That doesn't affect your NIL potential. That doesn't affect because NIL is like, I mean, with these student athletes, like you're a local celebrity wherever you go to school, wherever your hometown is. Like, I mean, like we all think about like the guys that made it, the guy who got that scholarship to get out the hood, the guy who came from a small town that then went to a school in a big city and became a household name. Like there are all these kind of stories that exist, and they go as large as a Power 5 school and a football powerhouse, basketball powerhouse, but all the way down to like wherever a HBCU, a Division 2, a mid-major, like any of those schools, like it's the same kind of thing because like there's a pride that comes when like someone from your hometown made it, somebody from your hometown has a potential to do more, and like it's for us we stepped into the education space because like athletes need to know, like they need to know their value, they need to understand what they are worth. And the same kind of goes for brands on the other side. Like I think same with brands like it's kind of hard because you want to tiptoe into this space, right? Like you don't want to, before you couldn't do it because it'll mess up their eligibility. Now they're saying you can, but like, how do we do it, right? Like, how do we do we treat them the same as like we would treat any other influencer that has a huge following on their YouTube and things like that, or like there's a huge learning curve even for the brands, right? So like I think we stepped into the education space because when we talk to brands, there's brands that think they know. There's brands that like are basing their decisions on not great information. Like, and it's not that it's false information. It's just not as effective information. There are cases like, I speak very kind of bluntly into a lot of cases. So like there are cases where like, just because you go to that big Power 5 school and you're a starter on the team, if you have zero posts on your Instagram, like if you only post on your story, like why would I get you to promote my brand? Like, why would I pay you money to promote my business? Because if in the spirit of NIL, it is supposed to have nothing to do with what you do on the field, but your brand that you develop and your personal brand. And so if I look you up and I look at your Instagram, yeah, you can be, an All-American. You can have all of that kind of stuff. You can have, blue check marks, all of that. And off of the strength of what you did on the field, but you don't use your Instagram. Like you post on your story and like there's zero posts. So like as a brand, what do I get out of that, right? Like what do I get out of that other than just saying I'm a brand that supports athletes, but like where's my return on investment? Like how are you helping my business grow? And I think for us, like we teach brands too, like what to look like. These are the things that can help your business. Like if you are at this point and our athletes are at this point, then like a collaboration can help put you in different spaces. It can put you in different markets. It can put you in different opportunities to reach new clientele, new potential clientele, new potential buyers in spaces that now you don't have to spend the same grandiose national ad spend to get placed in these markets, but you can do it via the digital age, via social media, and have your brand in different spaces and different demographics, touching different people, exposing to different people that may not have ever heard of your brand. And I think there's a huge layer and opportunity for us to teach the brands how that works, like how this can be beneficial, how this actually can improve your business, increase your followers, get you more customers because the students listen to students. Like the same way people buy from people that they trust, the same way word of mouth marketing is the most effective marketing because it's about building rapport, it's about building trust. And so, let's capitalize on that. Like it's things that we know in other industries and we know in other capacities of business, but like let's bring it here too. Just because they're students doesn't mean that it's not the same opportunity. Just because they're 18 to 21 years old doesn't mean that it's not the same opportunity because they still have following, they have influence. It's the power of social media. I'm a millennial, so like growing up in this in a digital age, like we've seen it grow to this point, and like now it is something that it does mean something. It's not just a joke to be insta famous or anything like that. It's a real thing. It can get you paid. It can get you opportunities. And so like we try to educate the brands, but also educate the students. Like teach them like this is what your worth is. This is what your value is. Don't take a bad deal just because it's a deal. Don't take an NIL deal just off of the strength that it's an NIL deal. Are there exclusivities in that deal? Are they saying if you work with them, you can't work with any of their competitors? Are they saying, if you're locked in this deal, are you locked in for the 10-year, like the duration while you're at this school or until you transfer? Like there's so many things that are going into these deals from people that think because, like I said, like because they're 18 to 21, 22, like, oh, they don't really know any better. And I think that's how you run that slippery slope of student athletes getting taken advantage of, signing bad deals and things like that. And they need guidance. They need someone to teach them, help them navigate. And that's something that an article can't do as much. That's something, I'm not saying it can't, but just something that, articles online can't do. That's something that, PDFs don't really articulate because like every situation is different. You need someone to tell you like, hey, like, I don't know if that's the best idea. Like, like, yes, your lawyer can read the contract, right? Like your lawyer can tell you legally, this is a good deal, or legally, this is a fair deal. Legally, this is good. But in addition to your lawyer, someone with a marketing brain, like someone that is looking out for your best interest, like, yes, it's good. It's legally good. It's a good deal on paper. Like it's a fair trade, but does it make sense for your vision? Does it make sense for your brand? Does it make sense for what you're trying to do with your NIL? Not every kid wants to be Angel Reese. Not every kid wants to do that level of NIL and commit that much to social media, to posting, to creating, to doing all of the things that it takes to build that. And so like let's meet them where they're at too. Like let's help the ones that want to get there. Like let's give you the tools, let's give you the resources, let's help you get to that point. But even if you don't, like even if you're here just to make, some gas money throughout the semester, or, some money to, make sure that you got some food in your dorm, or if you're just trying to, supplement a part-time job because now you've got a way as an athlete because your schedule never allowed you to before to do anything else. But now, at least from your phone, you can make a few extra bucks here and there. Let's meet you where you're at so we can strategize accordingly. Like it doesn't make sense if that's not what you want for us to throw everything at the wall, or if that is what you want for us to kind of play it so conservative. And so I think it's just because it's so individualized, because it's so case by case, that's where our value comes from providing the education across the board.
Awesome, man. I love that. And I think that's something that complements X Factor really well because we haven't been as involved in education, but something we are looking to and we have rolled out recently, we're looking to make a larger impact on like actual brand consulting and actually helping these athletes grow their brands a little bit more organically and get on a more consistent posting basis because after all, student athletes, it's very difficult to allocate time to constantly posting or consistently posting. And if you have somebody that can help you with the content, help you with ideas, help you, mentor you through different opportunities and situations, I think it takes a lot off of the college athlete's shoulder. And we're trying to provide them with all the necessary resources, information, education to, consistently grow their brand and not just post when they're getting an NIL deal or when they're getting paid. I think a lot of athletes don't post frequently enough because there are times where brands don't want to work with certain athletes because hey, they haven't posted in 6 months or they only have two posts on their feed or things of that nature. So I think it is important to stay on top of that and really understand this is a brand and this is a period of time where you can take advantage of being in the spotlight a little bit and being an influence on other people. So I think that's something that you complement really well with us is the education side, and then also the brand consulting side that we're trying to have a bigger role in with our athletes, is that we're trying to educate them from that standpoint too, and that you have to be a little bit more consistent, and we're willing to help you get there by providing assets and content and captions and ideas and camera angles and opportunities to maybe connect with photographers and things of that nature. So I think all of this complements each other really well, and that's why I'm excited to just continue our path forward together. Um, and again, man, I think this podcast will provide us a lot more opportunity just to showcase what we're doing, how we're helping athletes, what our athletes are up to. We're going to have a lot more athlete guests moving forward, industry guests, entrepreneurs, stuff like that. So we're really excited to have other voices on this cast. And if you're listening and you're interested and you're in the space, we'd be willing to potentially connect and have you on as well. We love hearing different mindsets and different perspectives and ideas and experiences. So I think this will be a good platform for everyone in NIL, but certainly, athletes involved in our businesses. And I'm just really looking forward to continuing the podcast with you, man. It was a pleasure having you on today. Looking forward to meeting some of your athletes as well and hopefully having them on. But yeah, I think moving forward, guys, we're going to try and do these podcasts a lot more frequently, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly for you guys, because I think it gives the athletes a voice. It gives other people interested in the industry some, different perspectives, ideas, talking points, things of that nature. So looking forward to building this thing with you, Antoine. It's been a pleasure today. And let's just keep this thing rolling, man.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, man. Collaboration over competition all day.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll be back here shortly.